When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Birds of the Round Table. Today, we are previewing Eagles training camp by breaking down 20 questions, 20 fill-in-the-blank questions about the 2026 Philadelphia Eagles. Joining us, he is Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. What's good, Ryan?
Not much. So this offseason can't be done with soon enough. I'm ready to watch some training camp. I'm ready to watch some preseason. I'm ready for it all. Let's get to it.
So close. Also joining us, David Neese, PHL on X. What's good, David?
The home run derby. Looking for Schwarber or Harper to win this thing.
Yeah, we are recording this Monday night at 8:09. So, as always, if you're watching watching the show, comment on your thoughts on the Eagles, answer your question, your fill-in-the-blank question, but also react a little bit to the home run derby because we're going to be doing the same. So let's jump right into this thing. We have 20 questions on the Philadelphia Eagles. Leading off, David, fill-in-the-blank. I am most excited about
To see how the young tight end core develops behind Dallas Goedert. They have two that I'm really interested in. Eli Stowers, obviously, the rookie who they drafted in the second round. Former quarterback, just offers a really high football IQ, excellent athleticism, natural instincts, position versatility. He can line up, anywhere on the line they want him to. He's just a very difficult matchup for linebackers and safeties. The question mark comes down to his blocking and how quickly that can develop. I mean, he was a willing blocker at Vanderbilt, but he does need to get, a little more strength. He has to just gain some functional strength, and he just needs to be able to sell it. He doesn't have to be able to be, the best blocking tight end Philly's ever seen, but he does have to be able to sell it to be effective. And on the other side is the UDFA who they drafted. Daquan Wright, like 6'4", 250-pound playmaker. I think he hauled in almost 40 receptions last year, 600 some yards, 5 touchdowns. He was one of my favorite tight end. Philly, kind of fit for the whole offseason. So I was pretty excited how they got them too. So watching them develop behind Dallas Goedert to me is probably one of the more exciting storylines of the camp.
All right, young tight end core for David. My thing I'm most excited about, I want to see Eagles offensive linemen getting into the second level once again in 2026. We know they're looking for more athletic offensive linemen this season, and I just love watching this O-line get back to dominating linebackers in space. We remember the good old days with Jason Kelsey, all the pin pulls, all the Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens his first year. And in those years, like, they were so dominant, getting explosive runs behind Cam Jurgens, behind Mailata, behind Lane and Landon. And that's something that really was a struggle last year. Saquon Barkley getting blown up behind the line of scrimmage. So for me, that's where it starts. No Jeff Stoutland, but I need to see this Eagles offensive line dominate in the second level, produce those efficient first downs and get back to more explosive runs. What do you got, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, those are two real good ones. I definitely was thinking both of those for this. But I'm going to go with the Jonathan Grenard effect.
Yeah.
I want to see what he is going to do to this defensive line and to this pass rush to this defense. What will his effect be on the young edge players that we have in Smith and Hunt, and what will also that do for the interior as well for Davis and for Carter? I think bringing him in here was such an amazing move. I just can't wait to see it actually out on the field and really see that this, pass rush, this defensive line is really humming, which again makes every level that much better. And especially, considering that they also have upgraded their corners, bringing in Reek Woolen, I think they're going to have a little extra time to get to that quarterback. So we could be we could be seeing some high sack numbers this year.
Love it. I feel like we're going to be talking about Grenard multiple times throughout tonight. Next question, the biggest question mark is, for me, it's Jalen Hurts, but more specifically, the middle of the field and his legs. And I need to see more emphasis with Jalen Hurts, those design runs, getting downhill, getting opposing linebackers to, hesitate, move left or right for a half second to open up holes for Saquon Barkley. And then the middle of the field, of course, as we have talked ad nauseum over the last several months. So for me, those are the two main areas for me with Jalen Hurts. What about you, Ryan? What's your biggest question mark?
How dare you feed into the national media and the hate for Jalen Hurts? I'm going to say the safety position in general. There's a lot of question marks there. We have a young player coming into his second year with let's be honest, a little disappointment, a little injury. We're going to be relying on him, Makuba, to, be the guy. And then you kind of don't really know what you're doing at the other spot. I mean, are you going to bring in somebody? You have the vet there. Is Cole Wisniewski going to turn it into something? So the safety position on the defense is definitely the weakest part and also has the most question marks. So, yeah.
All right. David, what's your biggest question mark?
My biggest question mark is whether the secondary can consistently create turnovers. Q has a few in the postseason, but he doesn't have any during the regular season. And the new CB who will be playing opposite him, Reek Woolen, had 6 his rookie year, but he's only had 6 ever since then, all combined. So neither one of them are, ball hawks, so to speak. I think that is something that they will put an emphasis on this year, and including all the DBs, including the one Ryan just mentioned, Andrew Makuba. I think they all three have a special talent to be able to get to the ball, but they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to create the turnovers. I think that's been the one thing missing from the Fangio defense since he came here.
All right. Rolling forward, the first player I'll be watching during training camp will be Ryan.
Man. That's a tough one, but I'm going to go with Makai Lemon. Again, this whole offseason, it was, we were waiting on the A.J. Brown trade. And, I don't think any one of us really thought seriously about selecting a first-round wide receiver. So, yeah, it'll be certainly, he'll be my focal point in feeling a lot better about the trade away of A.J. Brown and whether or not they, had to anyway, just because of, what had transpired. But it'll be nice to know if he comes out, firing that, I'll feel a lot better going forward with our receiving core.
Kai Lemon off the board. What about you, David?
That's exactly who I picked. I think he is the guy to watch. I mean, when you move a talent like A.J. Brown and you draft a first-round pick to basically, fill some of those shoes. I mean, even if you're moving Devontae to WR1, that these two wide receiver positions are detrimental to their success. And you want to see if he's able to have the same separation he did in college in the NFL. College athleticism just doesn't always translate immediately in the NFL, especially at the wide receiver position. And training camp's the first real test. I mean, he's been hurt during OTAs. We haven't really been able to see him. And the most important of all of that is how quickly does he earn the trust of Jalen Hurts. because if they don't get a rapport and he doesn't earn their trust, and if it doesn't happen quick, that means they're going to have to build it during the season, and that's going to be problematic. So I think he's a important role of how this is going to play out this year.
All right, Mekhi Lemon back to back. For me, positionless football is king. Give me Cooper DeJean and his role on this defense. That we already know he's damn good. He's elite as it gets, but we've talked about it throughout the last several months and how Vic Fangio will utilize this guy. That's something I can't wait to see throughout training camp, how he is incorporated at safety, at nickel, at dime linebacker, you name it. Do they use him on different matchups? Like, he is the true chess piece of this defense. That's for something that I will be absolutely ecstatic to watch on the All-22. I'm rolling on. The first thing Eagles fans on Twitter will blame or overreact will be, David,
every incomplete pass Jalen Hurts has in training camp. There's certain people who covered the team who, cover every single one of those. It's become a big deal. It's kind of funny. I don't completely discount it either. I do think there's some validity to some of that, but the funny part that gets overlooked a lot is training camp, especially the practices that we see. They're designed for experimentation. Quarterbacks are testing tight windows. Coaches are installing new plays, new concepts, and often the defense knows exactly what's coming. So, a rough practice doesn't necessarily indicate a rough season.
Ryan.
Yeah, I was just going to say Jalen Hurts in general, but yeah, that you might as well copy that over because, yeah, everything with Jalen Hurts gets blown, way out of proportion. David mentioned ESP. Literally every day, at the end of practice, throws his stats on Twitter, and everybody, dissects it, and morning talk radio, goes over it with a fine-tooth comb every day, and it's literally all they talk about, and Philly fans will, good day versus bad day, they'll overreact to either or. And David's exactly right. It's not about winning. It's about, installing, and it's about getting comfortable, and it's about getting familiar with the plays and exactly knowing what you need to do without even thinking. And that happens through practice. That happens through training camp. So, yeah, I don't take much stock into wins and losses as far as an offense or a defense is concerned. But yeah, as long as you're, progressing every day, that's all that I care about.
All right. Back to back takes from David and Ryan here. I'm just going to go layup. Sean Mannion's play calling, duh. It's easy to forget, how Kellen Moore looked before things kind of settled that season at the start, the first quarter there. And Sean Mannion, man, we need to see something from him. More so just the offense and the run and pass game meshing. And we really did not see any identity on offense last year. And that's something I really want to see. Cohesion from the offense. And if we don't see that from the jump, there's no doubt that Eagles fans are going to overreact. The sky is falling, etc. So that's my call on that one. The one thing nobody is talking about, David.
The one thing nobody is talking about, I think, is the leadership that was left behind from A.J. Brown and potentially Brandon Graham. I know a lot of fans kind of, crap all over A.J., but he wore a C on his chest for a reason. That was voted on by the team. And what he said in the locker room and how he conducted himself was a big thing, just like it is with Brandon Graham. So I think you're going to have to see people take the role that may not necessarily have been as outspoken before. That includes Devontae Smith. He might have to start, chewing somebody out and being a little more outspoken, things that, might not come comfortable. Jalen Hurts a little to that extent as well. Him and Devontae are very similar in that they lead kind of by example and with silence. And Brandon Graham and A.J. Brown are big personalities. Sometimes you might not like the way they went about doing their calling out of things, especially from A.J., but they did do that, and they kept people accountable, and I think that's something that's going to have to be shoes that are going to have to be filled by two of the guys who might not necessarily have felt comfortable doing that outwardly in the past.
Yeah, and Nakobe Dean as well. Ryan,
Good one. Yeah, I'm going to say the loss of Christian Parker and how this defensive backfield is going to look. Now that they have promoted Joe Casper to that role. Coop and Q, this is all they've known is Christian Parker, and they've certainly excelled. I definitely expect them to continue that, but it may look a little different, and it may take a little time to get into that rhythm like they had, with Parker. So definitely gonna be looking at that as a potential if there is a slow start or if there is any issues in the defensive backfield.
the thing that nobody is talking about for me is Jake Elliott. He was wildly inconsistent last year. It had a major impact the second half of last year. And, in different situations, he's a huge bounce back candidate. I need to see better from Jake Elliott, and they didn't really add any competition. So for me, it's the special teams unit and, what that means for the Eagles offense in different circumstances in the second half of the year. I need to get him back to what he used to be. Let's roll on the position battle. I'll be watching the closest. For me, it's Jalix Hunt versus Nolan Smith. I probably stole yours, David, but Nolan Smith versus Jalix Hunt is going to be just an amazing battle to watch. Whoever wins probably gets the next Eagles contract. Nolan Smith didn't have a great year last year. Jalix Hunt continued to show flashes. Obviously, a better fit in this defense, I think. What do you say, Ryan? What's your biggest position battle you'll be watching?
Man, yeah, this is tough. I mean, that's certainly high up on my list. I'm just gonna say the second safety spot. I truly believe that it's still kind of open. Yeah, I truly believe Howie to bring in somebody at some point to compete and to upgrade that position rather than just relying on the vet. So,
all right, David.
What is the question? The position battle?
Position battle you'll be watching most closely.
Probably wide receiver 3. Just to be different from y'all's. Dontavian Wicks is one of the veteran wide receiver 3 camp bodies that's in there, but he has the experience. He has the understanding from working with Sean Mannion in the past about the offense. And you have 2 more vets trying to carve out roles, Marquise Brown and with the speed, and Elijah Moore with like a separation ability. And I think the forgotten man who could play a role there is Johnny Wilson, who missed much of the year injured. He's an astounding blocker, a big-bodied red zone threat. And, I think he's in the mix for some of those receptions as well. I think the offense is set up this year where 1 and 2 are kind of more defined, and wide receiver 3 is a position that's there more to enhance what 1 and 2 does, as opposed to, trying to get a job as the second receiver. I think the roles are going to be a lot more defined in this offense than they've been in the past.
All right, rolling forward, I'll be worried if this one. The first thing that came to my mind is the health of Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, and what that looks like heading into 2026, and sustaining through training camp and staying healthy. If I'll be worried if they get dinged up during training camp, that is a major concern. David, I'll be worried.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'll be worried if the pass rush isn't generating pressure, especially with not generating pressure without even having to blitz. They have the talent to excel at this, and the DBs that are be playing behind them now should buy them a lot of extra time. They need to be able to bring the heat and disrupt, the passing game and the quarterback's timing every week because, they're going to throw a lot of fastballs. Fangio historically doesn't, blitz often. So they're going to need to do that without being, afforded blitzing every down. So if they're not able to generate, a pass rush quick, I think that's going to be a big problem. And that falls on losing Jalen Phillips. And, does Nolan Smith Jr. progress and does Jalix Hunt progress? Because they're in much bigger roles now than they've been in the past.
Yep. Ryan, I'll be worried if.
I think just I'm not necessarily worried about any one position. I'll just say injuries in general. I think that can always be the downfall to any team, and is early injuries that start off, especially to some of the younger players that start them off on a slow foot, trying to keep up, and then maybe they push a little too much and yada yada yada. So yeah, I'll just say general camp injuries.
Sounds good. The Philly media headline after one bad Eagles game will be, David.
Is it time to move on from Jalen Hurts?
That's exactly
that is what I had to.
That has to be the one, right? I mean, it's the only one close as an honorable mention second is should they fire Nick Sirianni? That's literally the only other one.
Yeah.
Am I good to copy and paste?
Yeah, 100%.
That's literally what I had.
It's the only answer.
It's the number one answer on Family Feud. No. I mean, it was
number one. Next up, the first player Eagles fans will want benched will be Ryan.
Ooh. The first player that the Eagles fans will want benched. I'll say Tyler Steen.
Oh. Okay.
Because I feel like they already want him off the team anyway.
I'm going to piggyback off of that, and I'm going to say Cam Jurgens. Mostly because of the lack of success with the tush push last year. And, Cam Jurgens, center, has been one of the positions for the Philadelphia Eagles that you look at their success, and Jason Kelsey and Cam Jurgens, his rookie year or first year, and how wildly impactful that position is. And I feel like if Jurgens has a rough stretch and Saquon continues to get hit behind the line of scrimmage, he could get his name called out a little bit, and he really needs to bounce back. David?
The first player I think they'll want bench will be the defensive back who gives up a touchdown, a deep touchdown, and unfortunately for whoever's playing opposite Makuba, it'll probably be that second safety. Unless they go out and make a deal for somebody who's, far more competent. It doesn't matter what the Eagles personally think of Marcus Epps. The fan base is definitely not sold on him. If he struggles, they're definitely going to want him gone.
All right. I'll know the team is special when, for me, I need to see efficiency on first down and thus manageable third downs. How many times last year did we see just throwaway plays on third and long, third and 11, third and 12, and they would just do like a halfback delay or run up the middle of the field into the middle of the pack and just meaningless plays. I need to see this offense unpredictable. I need to see more motion. I need to see guys put in positions to succeed. Cough, Grant Calcaterra, cough. He should not be out there on run plays. And I just need to see the get ahead of the sticks and turn, not just move the chains, but also dominate time of possession. I'll know this team is special when they are effectively moving the ball and making defenses play them, not vice versa. Ryan?
Yeah, it's got to be the offense. The offense has to look scary once again. This team. We know that their defense can be really something special. But the offense was abysmal last year. Whether it was play calling, whether it was stuff behind the scenes, whatever, yada yada. The offense needs to start clicking again. And they have all the pieces. They have more than enough weapons. So if the offense can do it, I'm gonna be happier than what. So that's all I'll say.
Man, that's what makes last year so frustrating, given how well the defense played and came together. The offense was just so
So
historically bad.
so bad.
David, I'll know this team is special when.
When they get to the line with more than 5 seconds left. No, I'm kidding. I think after they win an ugly game. Good teams, great teams, they all struggle, but the difference between good and great teams are the ones who win even when they're not playing their best. They still pull out those victories. I think 2024 was a great example of that. They had a tough game like against, I think it was the Panthers somewhere that season, somebody else, and they still pulled out those games. And that's when you know that a team has turned the corner and it's pretty special is when they're able to win ugly.
Go on. All right. The move that will define the season will be, and I'm just going to go first because Ryan already talked about it. For me, is Jonathan Grenard. And, this Eagles defense hums when they can get an effective 4-man pass rush and disguise those blitzes. But it really starts with the 4-man pass rush. And Jonathan Grenard was arguably my favorite move of the offseason. Obviously had a terrific pressure rate last year, but needs better results. I'm excited to see what Grenard can do in this offense. David, the move that will define the season will be.
Yeah, I touched on it earlier, but I think it goes back to Fangio trusting the defensive backs to just cause more chaos back there, which will in turn create more turnovers. They've played kind of conservative, since he's got here as far as, playing aggressive out there on corner. It's, they've had to hide kind of somebody both seasons. And I don't think they have to do that this year. So I think you might see a far more aggressive style of play from them. And, the Eagles haven't had, and like y'all mentioned also, Christian Parker's gone. There's a new philosophy at the position as well. So it all starts with Fangio, but they do coach things differently in each room there. And I think they have the talent now where they can be more aggressive, take more chances. And, this is a team that hasn't had very many turnovers, even during these years, the past few years, even when they won the Super Bowl. So I think it's time that they, become a little bit more aggressive with that. And I think they have the talent to do that.
All right, Ryan, what say you?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of pseudo piggyback off that. It's going to be Rick Wallen. And for the exact reason that David just said is there's always been that CB2 spot where it's been like, it's been inconsistent. One week they're getting thrown out of Philly. The next week they make one little play and they're back in. I don't think we're going to be doing that. There's not going to be so much, of a roller coaster ride with Rick Wallen. I think because of that, because you finally have, two outsides, you have, slot corner, and then you have a young up and coming safety in Makuba. I actually think that will lead to a lot more turnovers because there's not going to be that one player that they're just going to, hit every time. And they're going to have to spread the ball out to evenly throughout all of our defensive backs. And I think that will lead to more opportunities for some bad passes.
Yeah. And we go back to 2024 and how much of an impact Darius Slay had. Saw a lot of targets.
Yeah.
Quinion Mitchell was so underrated. The most random Eagles player to score a touchdown in 2026 will be, I'm calling my shot here, Ryan.
Wait. Is the initials JF?
No,
Okay.
no. Actually, it's your boy.
Shocked.
Yeah. I'm going to go your boy, Eli Stowers, not catching a touchdown,
Running.
throwing a touchdown.
Ooh.
Not only in like a big moment, but it will be to Lane freaking Johnson in the end zone.
Jesus.
Eli Stowers on a trick play, play action or reverse, I don't know,
How about
to
that?
Lane Johnson.
Okay.
David.
Yeah, I feel like I'm set up just to sound boring as hell after that.
Yeah, right? I know.
I
She
went with
went first.
Moro Ajomo on a fumble recovery. Nowhere near as inventive as yours, but hopefully more realistic.
Ryan?
I'm gonna kind of stick to David, the defensive side of the ball. And I'm gonna go with the Axeman Jr., Jeremiah Trotter Jr., scoop and score, fumble recovery for a touchdown.
And then he does the axe, the
Absolute, and the link just implodes with so much noise that the world just cannot handle it.
I'm not gonna lie, that gave me goosebumps.
That would be just an unreal thing
That'd be
to see
nuts.
live in
I
person.
can literally see it in my head.
I can too. That's you know me. I'm all about whatever kind of creeps in here at the last second.
All right. By week 18, everyone will be talking about David.
The Eagles having another top-tier defense, like top 3 in the league. I don't think it's that hard to imagine. They're stacked. They have one of the best defensive minds in the game in Vic Fangio. And quite frankly, I'd be more surprised if they weren't a top 5 team and defensively than I would than them being one. I mean, all the pieces are there. He came back for a reason. I'm expecting dominance this year, and he's hinted throughout the season that he's going to throw a few more wrinkles, and I am excited to see what those are.
By week 18, everyone will be talking about Mekhi Lemon turning into one of the best third down wide receivers in the NFL. That's going to be mine. And you look at Devontae Smith, he had the 8th most receptions on third down last year. I think that baton gets tossed to Mekhi Lemon in 2026. And if Mekhi Lemon can convert those like 3rd and 6 situations into first downs, I mean, one of the most valuable jobs in the NFL, period. They're not flashy stats, but they're the kinds that, the hallmark of great offenses. They need these guys, not like Puka Nacua, but guys that can really knows space, knows how to get open and, make, contested catches. So for me, Mekhi Lemon being a reliable elite third down weapon. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, we're going to be debating which backup quarterback is going to be starting week 18 because we would have already cinched up first place. The bye. Because this team has the potential to be really special, and if this offense can play the way that we feel that it's capable of, and it can match the intensity, the talent, the whatever you want to call it of the defense, man, they could have a top 5 of each. They have the talent, I think, truly. So, yeah, easily.
What should I put down for that?
I just put the league is on notice.
The player whose jersey will be everywhere by December, for me, is Moro Jomo. I mean, among us Eagles fans, he's already a star, but I don't know if the NFL truly knows about him yet. That has been the kind of the pattern over the last few years. Clint Hurt churning out these elite defensive linemen, and I don't expect Jomo to be back next year. but I feel like he's due for a monster season. I think Ojomo at the end of this year could battle Jalen Carter for the best Eagles defensive tackle. And that's nuts considering Jordan Davis and how elite he was last year. They have 3 elite defensive tackles. David?
Yeah, I agree with Ajomo having a breakout season, but I also agree that it'd be stunning if they were able to pay him to, because I can't imagine they'll be able to afford 3 DTs of that magnitude. So the player I went with was Mekhi Lemon. I think he will have convinced the Philly fans that he's the guy for the job to play alongside Devontae Smith for years to come. And he'll prove that by breaking Devontae's rookie receiving yard record that he's set back in 2021. I think it's 916 yards that he had as a rookie. That was the most. And a lot of people dispute that, but I think they're going to feed Mekhi Lemon the ball often if that kid is healthy. I expect a big year with a lot of targets over the middle for him.
Sir. Ryan?
So the way I kind of took this is maybe, maybe a slow start and throughout the middle of the season, towards the end of the year, really starts to bring it. And that to me just absolutely spells Eli Stowers.
Ooh, okay.
He's gonna start off slow. He's gonna, kind of get his bearings and he's not gonna have all the, as much opportunity as I'm sure he would want, but by the time, that first game or two that Dallas Goedert inevitably, goes down, he'll step in, do a few things, and I think he's really going to become a household name by the time December rolls around. I'll obviously already have his jersey, but
Are you shocked? I haven't said the Johnny Munn reference at all so far. Are you shocked?
I am actually. I'm actually more proud of you than anything.
The player who will have the most unhinged WIP caller takes will be Ryan.
I mean, oh god, I feel like you could go so many different ways with this one, but man, I'm gonna say. I'm gonna just say something random, and I'm gonna say a Keely Ringo. There's gonna be something. It happens, you know. Somebody goes down, he's got to go in, and of course, they'll throw a touchdown on him, and somebody will take it a little too far.
David?
I mean, I'm just sticking to what sells the best, and that's Jalen Hurts.
Wow. Yeah.
For whatever reason, he's the most polarizing player at quarterback in the NFL. The recent rankings by PFF and ESPN completely prove that. And quite frankly, quarterback is a very hard position to become beloved in the city of Philadelphia as well. Donovan McNabb, you had Michael Vick, you've had Carson Wentz. The only one who's ever been completely beloved is the guy who has a statue outside of the stadium, and that's Nick Foles. It's a hard gig playing quarterback in Philadelphia, and, doesn't matter who that player is, they're always going to be the ire of venom on radio and national talk shows, etc.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong. It's the head coach and it's the quarterback. They'll get unfairly, they'll get all of the blame, and also unfairly they won't get all the credit they should. So yeah, it's just the life of head coach and quarterback in Philly.
I'm going to call my shot here. And it'll be fun because we've been making lists after list after list for the last several months. And we'll look back at it, a quarter of the season, halfway through the season, making fun of what we got wrong, calling out what we got right. For me, I'm going Reek Woolen on this one, who kind of falls in line, not comparing them, but a little bit like CJ Gardner-Johnson, with where he might make some flashy plays, but when you watch the tape, he makes more negative plays than a lot of fans don't talk enough about. And CJGJ was kind of that dude. A lot of people liked him with kind of the physicality he brought and the playmaking he brought, but he left a lot to be desired overall. And I think Reek Woolen has a chance to be that next guy. And that's going to be mine.
I can see that.
Reek Woolen. There we go. All right. The weirdest thing that will happen this season will be
This is where I got a little inventive like you did a few questions back. I went with the weirdest thing that'll happen will be Jordan Mailata will catch a touchdown pass from Saquon Barkley. Many expected him to get his first touchdown if he ever got one, lining up at fullback and kind of just bullying people over rugby style. But I'm going with the weirdest, so that will be that his touchdown will come via the air, a la Lane Johnson like 7 seasons ago.
Saquon to Mailata touchdown.
Yep.
The weirdest thing that I want to happen this season is the Uar Bernard tush push.
I was going to say, dude, don't steal mine.
Is that what?
It wasn't a tush push, but yeah, it was like a fullback run from the one. Yeah,
I want to see.
I would love that.
Like 4th and 1, 4th and inches situations with Bernard running onto the field and the Lincoln Financial Field just going nuts,
exploding.
That's the weirdest thing. I want him to have a weirdly quiet role, but important role on offense where he's just either a decoy or whatever. I'm going Bernard tush push. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, that's literally what I was thinking, honestly. I thought that would be insanely good. But let's see, what can I say? I'm gonna go with a position player kicks an extra point. I wouldn't even know who the emergency kicker technically is, but
the punter.
Yeah, well, yeah. Besides the punter, so
yeah,
Mailata. You know who kicked field goals in high school?
Who
is Jalen Carter?
He
did. He was also their punter.
Okay. Well, there you go. Let's do it.
There you go.
So just say Jalen Carter will kick the.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Yeah.
That's damn weird. All right.
That would be weird.
All right. The player that will all make us look stupid. I like to cheat on these things. That way I can clip out my correct take. So I'm going to hedge my bet and say Uar Bernard looks like an awful NFL player. Like, he's not even remotely close to, he's 2 years away from being 2 years away kind of dude. So for me, Uar Bernard, he's going to make the roster, but he really struggles during training camp. Ryan.
You are such a cheater. I'd like to go on the record for saying that I'm very against what you just did. Man, what are we?
Player that will make you look stupid.
Stupid.
You could say Eli Stoward.
Can I say what player is going to make one of you guys look stupid? Johnny Munt. Just because he hasn't been mentioned yet today.
Love it. What about you, David?
I'm going with Andrew Makuba. I think a lot of people have kind of written him off due to his injuries and just not being able to see him. And a lot of people have questioned his size, how undersized and small he is. But he was adjusting quickly when he came up. And he was an absolute stud at Texas. And I think he will be able to, do that same kind of work in the NFL. And there isn't a better system designed for him to flourish than the Fangio system. He's kind of playing that CJ role where he will be able to get his hands on the ball. And he's a threat every time he does. I think we saw a pick six from him in a preseason game. his rookie year, maybe the first one he played. So he's got that kind of talent. I just think he needs to stay healthy to show it.
Yeah, agreed.
Please stay healthy, man.
Seriously.
The one stat from the 2026 season that will shock everyone will be David.
I went with the Eagles will lead the league in turnover differential. I don't think they'll be giving very many up. I think the offense is designed for a lot of efficient passing, and I'm just very bullish on this defense. I think they're just going to create a lot of havoc, which entail will bring a lot of turnovers.
All right.
I like it.
My stat that I think will be really fun this year, I'm calling my shot. Jalen Hurts will be number 1 in the NFL in tight window throw rate. And not a lot of people think of Jalen Hurts like that. I think he was like top 10 the last 2 years. He's pretty good. But
Yeah, he is.
nobody ever like says that. That's never the part of the narrative. And with Mekhi Lemon and Eli Stowers and more play action in the middle of the field and motion, I think there's a really, and Mekhi Lemon being like a guy that can, be that dude in those situations. I have a feeling that Jalen Hurts takes a massive leap in this area. And, he wasn't asked to do a lot of it in the past few years. But man, I think if he can do what I expect him to do, because I do believe he can do it, living over the middle of the field with layered concepts and anticipation throws, I think it's going to completely change the narrative of Jalen Hurts as a passer. So for me, I'm going to go tight window Jalen Hurts. What about you, Ryan?
I'm going to say kind of sort of like what David said. I'm going to say we're going to win the point differential for the league.
Okay. All right. When we look back at at this team next offseason, we'll remember it for David.
How the young players officially arrived and took over starting spots. I think Jalix Hunt, Drew Makuba, even Mekhi Lemon, all will, clarify without any doubt that they're the starters at those positions. There are meaningful snaps for Eli Stowers. I think he'll be able to show what he can do. And, I don't want to wish injury on anybody, but I think Markel Bell, if he has to come in early, I'm really bullish on him as well. I think, you have the opportunity to have like 5 or 6 young players who could establish themselves as, long-term core members of the team.
I'm going to piggyback off of that because I have a very similar take. Kind of the opposite, though. I'm going to go Lane Johnson's swan song. And not only does he have a great year, I mean, he's statistically always like elite tier, but, he has one of his best years yet. The Eagles win the Super Bowl, and Lane Johnson rides into the sunset as maybe it's not even an argument. He's the best Eagle of all time. And for me, it's Lane Johnson's swan song. What about you, Ryan?
That's a good one. I think we'll look back at this offseason, and I think we'll maybe, again, maybe not locally, just because we're a bunch of insane people. But I think Nick Sirianni will finally get a little respect on his name nationally, for having to kind of deal with the constant change and all the BS with AJ and whatever that was or wasn't, and leading them yet to another Super Bowl appearance and hopefully another Super Bowl victory. So I think respect to Sirianni.
Respect to Nick Sirianni. And then last but not least, number 20, though, the one thing I promise not to overreact to this season is, without a doubt for me, Sean Mannion and his play calling. That's going to be one of the top discussion points. I will not make a judgment call on this offense until at least the first 5 or 6 games of the regular season. That's my promise. What about you, David?
Yeah, mine was kind of similar. I'm not going to overreact to ugly offensive performances in September. There's definitely going to be a learning curve. Overreacting to every play adjustment is just pointless. I think they'll be rolling by October. I think, mishaps always happen over the first few weeks, whether you're running it back again or having somebody new. I think we all saw that in 2024. It took until the post bye week, before they really turned things on that season. So, yeah, I think that's the correct take all around.
Right.
I'm going to kind of pull a Deibs here and say, I don't promise anything.
You just don't have an answer.
I don't,
Make no promises.
I can't make that promise. I'm going to, I mean, I like to think that I properly react to things, but just in case, I can't make that promise. I'm sorry.
All right. Right. All right. That is our Eagles fill in the blank show. David, final thoughts. What did we learn from this? Plugs, time is yours.
I think we learned that for the most part, we kind of view the team in very similar ways. The concerns, the strengths. I think everybody kind of has that same trepidation as you move into the season with the uncertainty of a new offense. But I think what's coming that usually doesn't for Philadelphia fans is a lot of optimism. I don't hear very much worry as normal. I mean, we're just being realistic that it might take a few weeks to get the thing going, but I think all of us kind of believe in the direction in which they went, and that says a lot about even Nick Sirianni for that matter, that he's given up the reins here and allowed a whole new system to come in after 5 straight playoff appearances doing it the way he did it. That takes a lot to walk away from. We had a head coach, former quarterback here, 6 years ago who wouldn't do that. So he left the team. Doug Peterson wasn't willing to cut ties with all of his guys, so he no longer coached the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm impressed with what Nick did. I'm excited for the changes they've made, and I think the direction that they're taking the offense is what is going to modernize it and make them more lethal for the next few seasons. I'm very excited for it, and the defense is what it is. With as long as Fangio's here, he's kind of like Jim Johnson, back 15 years ago. You know what you're getting every single year. So you consider we lost A.J. Brown, Coach Stoutland. I mean, there's some pretty massive changes. The offensive coordinator, and we all feel kind of good about it, is pretty telling.
Well, you can only go up.
I mean, Stoutland, people were irate over that one, but but you've quickly kind of forgotten it. Everyone's kind of moved on.
I was speaking more about the offense.
Patullo, yeah.
Ryan, what did we learn? Plugs, time is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think David said it pretty nicely. We are pretty positive about this season, and again, I think it's not necessarily one grand move or anything like that. I think it's just the consistency of the moves and pushing ourselves, towards that goal. And, again, bringing in somebody who we believe to be a competent play caller and somebody who's an up and coming play caller. And, that's certainly going to be, high on everybody's, mind. But, again, he can do a lot of things to calm the fan base down by, simply just being, competent. He doesn't necessarily need to, come in and, blow the roof off. So I think you pass that hurdle, you look at the talent and you say, well, listen, this offense with a competent leader can do a lot of great things. And if they're even a little better than that, they could be doing great things. And this defense, you already know. So it's hard not to come into this season, given their schedule, given everything that they've done, to not feel more positive.
the Eagles and Howie Roseman do such a phenomenal job of building around elite superstars and young talent, and just give them major credit. As a guy that loves to watch the NFL draft and, guys that are rookies and young pieces develop, man, this is going to be a fun season for sure. And I agree. I think we're all very high on this team, but there's also major question marks that I think need to be answered. So it's going to be a wild season for sure. That is our fill in the blank show. As always, we will revisit this, laugh at it, celebrate with it within the first quarter, half of the season. We've already done multiple listings and, drafts and things like that related to this Eagles training camp. So go check those out. Comment down below. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Let us know down below. Make sure you're following David there at David News PHL on X. Follow Ryan at Philly Sports PSA. I am Deibs, Mr. Crockpot. We'll see you next Monday doing an Eagles 53-man roster breakdown. And let's go. For David, for Ryan, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.